Everybody, it is Hyper, and welcome back to another video in the series, How to Play Arma Like a Marine, where I teach you how to apply real-world concepts into milsim games such as Arma. And since Arma Reforger is such an accurate simulator, they apply very well to this game. And today I'm going to teach you about the RCOs, the common optics you're going to find on rifles used by the United States military in the modern day. And if you're playing on RHS, which most people are in Reforger, you're going to run into these optics on American specifically weapons. So I have two examples for you here today. We've got the TA-31 RCO, which you will find on older patterns and things like grenade weapons, grenadier rifles. And then the regular M38 is what you're, not the M38, but the regular 30A2 sights, which are the TA-30A2s. And those are going to be the horseshoe style you will see on the M27 IAR. So if I switch to the Grenadier, you'll see this one's the chevron pattern, which I like a lot. And then here you will see the horseshoe pattern, which I like the most. I didn't used to, but I do now. Anyways, let's cover some things really quick about parts of the optic. If you look at the very center of the optic, that little red dot in the center, that's just the red dot. Outside of that is the horseshoe. It's a circle it's almost a full circle, and closing that opens up towards the bottom. Below that, you're going to have the vertical sight post, and it has the 4 and 6 flanking it on the right, and it has horizontal notches going down called stadia lines. Next, we are going to have these two black dots that flank the red dot in the center. And I just like to put those, I just call those like guide dots. I mean, they're just made to keep the field of view open towards the center of the optic. And then you're going to see those two horizontal lines coming out from either side of the edge of the optic. Those are going to be your standard US military mil reticle pattern. And each one of those notches is 5 mils apart. And then from big notch to big notch, it is 10 mils apart. So you can use this optic to give talk-ons and stuff like that, which I'll show you how to do right now. So we can see this little shack right there and this telephone pole right here. If I put the far vertical notch on that telephone pole, I can see that the other far vertical notch goes to the end of that shack. So I know they're 100 mils apart. If I pull out my compass, look, 1810, okay. Telephone pole 1710. Yep, they are exactly 100 mils apart. So without pulling out a compass, if we have that as a predetermined, a significant terrain feature or something on like a terrain sketch or a fire plan or something like that, I could say, hey, eyes on shit shack or whatever you call it, go 100 mils left to shit shack. Uphill, you'll see a telephone pole. Base of that telephone pole, there is a group of infantry in the tree line. Light them up. You know what I mean? That's so much faster than saying, okay, I'm going to pull out my compass. Okay, do you see that house there? I want you to look at the house, and the house should be at 2100 mils. I want you to go 700 mils on your compass. Look at that tree line. What do you see in the tree line? Oh, do you see that telephone pole? Yeah, I see that telephone pole. You see what I mean? It's just way faster to give a talk on like that. You know what I mean? If you know how to use this mil reticle pattern properly. And you can also give adjustments for artillery, mortar fire, and aircraft if you understand how to use this mil reticle pattern at distance using the worm formula, which I'll cover in a different video. But understanding how mils and the mil reticle pattern work are just a super key skill for any infantryman, especially in the Marine Corps, the masters of combined arms warfare. Okay, now let's get into the actual use of the optic for marksmanship, which is arguably the primary purpose of it. We now know you could use it to conduct observation and share communication on the battlefield. Works great for that. Let's actually use it to do some shooting. You're going to notice I have a target set up here at 100 meters, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, and 800 meters. And those all line up with points of aim in the optic itself. For starters, I'm going to teach you how to estimate range with the scope. So this horseshoe is designed to be 19 inches, roughly 19 inches at 200 meters. So 19 inches, the standard width of the fighting age male, that's what your targets roughly will look like at distance. So if you see I hold, let me stabilize my weapon really quick. You'll see if I hold the circle shoulder to shoulder on that target, it's about exactly the width of the shoulders of this target. That's 200 meters. So if the target is larger than the circle, if it's larger than the circle at all, we know we are within 200 meters. Therefore, we could pretty much use anywhere between the little circle in the center to like the 4 line, and as long as both of those points are on the target, you are guaranteed to produce hits within the range if you can see the circle as big as their shoulders or smaller, okay? So at 100 meters, you know, oh, we're within 100 meters, well within 100 meters, because the width of his shoulders is roughly 2 of these circles. You see what I mean? So circle on one side, circle the other side, he's about 100 meters away. Now, it gets even easier when you go out to farther distances. So let's set up our weapon and let's look at 300 meters. If we look at 300 meters, you're going to see that little notch in the bottom of the circle. Well, if we put that notch at the bottom of the circle on the shoulders at 300 meters, that is the width of somebody's shoulders at 300 meters. So we know, okay, his shoulders match up with this notch in the circle. I'm gonna say this guy is at 300 meters away. Now 400 meters, that's where you're starting to use the stadia line. So you see that 4 line, the horizontal line next to the 4? Well, that's the width of somebody's shoulders at 400 meters. And you can see that stands true. 500, the 5 line matches up with the width of the shoulders. 6 line matches up with the width of the shoulders. 7 line matches up with the width of the shoulders. And you can't see it from here, but there's a target at 8. And it will match up with the width of the shoulders as well, but that is so far away, it's really hard to tell a difference. And it's an area target anyway, so past really 550, 500 meters, you really shouldn't rely too heavily on just your battle rifle. It's very possible though. So I'm gonna show you exactly how that works. So we actually can't shoot this target from here because Arma doesn't let you lean out windows, which is fine. It already lets us do a lot of really cool stuff. So we'll just go into Game Master really quick. And let's set our weapon up right here. Now, if we aim down there, we can see, oh God, it's not gonna work. You see our target is 100 meters away. So if I aim with the tip of the red dot in the center at 100 meters, it should hit right where I'm aiming. There you go, headshot at 100 meters, aiming with the very top part of that middle tiny red dot in the center. Now, if we aim at 200, we're aiming with the bottom of that dot. I mean, realistically, you just put the dot on them, you'll produce hits, but if you're trying to go for really accurate fire, you would use the top or the bottom of the circle. But let's use the bottom of that little tiny dot in the middle, try and get for another headshot. Oh, need to reload my weapon. And here we are. Headshot at 200 meters. Next 300 meters, let's line up the shoulders. Yep, that's also going to be your point of aim. The tip of that post, you see how there's that one bright post below the horseshoe above the 4 line? The very tip of that post is where you aim at 300 meters, where the circle is on the shoulders, essentially. And there we go. We got our center mass hit at 300. Now it's 400. We're going to aim with the intersection of the horizontal 4 line and the vertical post at 400. And there's our hit. Let me switch to semi-auto. Now at this point, we're getting to the 500 meter range, which means you're starting to see a lot more of a deviation. So since meters are roughly 1/10 bigger than yards at this distance, and this sight was designed to use yards rather than meters, you're going to start to notice a little bit of a difference with the ballistic behavior. Meaning that if you want to aim at this target at 500 meters, it's actually 50 meters farther than that. So you're going to have to aim 1/10 higher than you normally would. So aim just slightly higher with the 5 line past 500 meters and you'll produce hits still. So there he is. Instead of aiming at his chest with the 5 line, since we're at meters instead of yards, we're aiming a little bit higher. We'll aim like right at his helmet. And we'll produce that center mass hit at 500. Same for the 600. You're going to aim just 1/10 higher at 600. And we should produce a hit. Let's see. There's our hit. And 7. 7 is going to be a little tricky. It is quite far. Again, you aim 1/10 higher. We'll fire. There's our hit at 7. And then area targets at 800 meters, because really you shouldn't be relying on your regular weapon to engage enemies at this distance unless you're doing something like a volley fire or a suppression or something like that. But let me show you that aiming with the 8 line will still work at 800 meters. And you can see all those impacts in the distance. And there you go. Now we know body's bigger than circle within 200 meters. Body's the size of the circle. He's at 200 meters. Body's the size of the notch, 300 meters. 4 line, 400, 5 line, 500, 6 line, 600, and so on. And you know your points of aim at all those different distances. And that's basically a crash course for the common optics you're going to find on American small arms infantry rifles in the modern day. And this works with the MDO as well, but the MDO is a machine gun dioptic, and that has a few differences to it that I can show you later. Anyways, let's switch over to our TA-31 RCO, and it's the same thing for the most part. You can see that the reticle is a lot more refined. It's a lot more fine. Like that's the word for it, fine. Like the lines are a lot more crisp, a lot smaller to get a lot more accuracy and open up your field of view more. And you can see the only difference is you have a chevron instead of the horseshoe, and 100 meters you're aiming at the tip of the chevron, 200 meters you're aiming with the crotch of the chevron, which is the elbow, essentially the inner part of that elbow. That's what you're aiming with at 200, and then 300 you're still aiming with the tip of the post. And then from 400 and onward, it's basically the same thing. And there's slightly more magnification on this one than the horseshoe reticle as well, but for the most part, they stand true. You can see at 200 meters, that's not the width of the shoulders. For this one, it's actually 300 meters. So, 300 meters, okay, that dude's 300 meters away. I like the 200 meter one better because just the way engagements work, between 200 meters up to you. If you aim anywhere between, like I said, like the top of that circle and that 4 line, you're gonna produce hits as long as you're aiming center mass. So I think it's a much better optic for those reasons, and it has a much more clear sight picture as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you learned a lot. If you guys have any questions, or if you'd like to learn about other topics, I can cover so much stuff thanks to my very specific and special job I did in Marine Corps. I loved every minute of it, so I highly enjoy making these videos. But let me know in the comments, give me feedback, positive or negative. And please remember, June is PTSD Awareness Month, so if you have friends serving or who have served, make sure to check on them, start a conversation or something like that, and consider your checking out different projects like Wounded Warrior Project and stuff like that. These charities, I'll have some linked in the description that help people out who may be in need, whether they're service members, active duty military, or their families. And consider buying a t-shirt from my community. I'm selling them so we can raise some money to get some technology in the hands of veterans who may need it so they can make those human connections, whether it's for work, school, or play. And yeah, 50% of all the proceeds from those t-shirts will go to that, and the rest is going back to the community and funding future projects like this. And I think the t-shirt's pretty cool. It also raises awareness for PTSD. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to see you guys in the next video or stream, and until then, I'll see you guys next time.